Right, to analyze Bloomberg's latest report highlighting the unexpected stability of the Naira in 2025 in accordance with President Tinubu's reforms, we're now joined by Dr. Justin Amase, an economist. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
On Newsnight. Well, we just heard from Johnson Chukwu there saying it's too early to say that the Naira is decoupling, from the global trends. But, I mean, what do you think we're doing right? Are we to conclude that President Tinubu's economic reforms are yielding the, expected results? Is that what we're seeing?
Yes, definitely. The reforms are yielding results. The step taken by the president in unifying the exchange rate of the Naira was inevitable. It was only being delayed. The reason is that the exchange rate is a price, and the value or the level of the price is determined by the interaction of the forces of supply and demand. You can't escape it. Whatever price you are dealing with, you have to balance how much is demanded with how much is supplied. Nigeria is an import-dependent economy. The Nigerian economy is structurally undiversified. We rely mainly on crude oil sale for export revenue. And so, because the oil price is determined in the international market, and because it's very volatile, often when there are major events, global events, that will affect the oil price, our economy experiences the negative impact. And so there were fundamental issues that were not addressed. How do you increase supply of foreign exchange? How do you earn more foreign exchange revenue outside earning from oil? And then how do you produce internally to cover that which was being demanded and imported? Take a classical case, the oil we had. We were not able to refine it in adequate quantity because the government refineries were not working to their capacity. So we ended up importing refined petroleum products, and that put a lot of pressure on the exchange rate. As of 2023, Nigeria used $8.2 billion. In fact, Nigeria was using at least 33% of its foreign exchange earning to import refined petroleum products. And so these supply and demand factors made it impossible for you to say you have the exact exchange rate of the Naira. That is one. Number two is that discovering that exchange rate needed a system whereby there won't be human interference. There will be some level of transparency. In other words, price discovery would have been made possible when you allow those forces of demand and supply to determine what is the exchange rate. That was not allowed. As a result, Nigeria was carrying an artificial exchange rate. So what the Tinubu reform did, which was a masterstroke, was to unify those various exchange rate windows. So there was no room for anyone to buy who had influence to buy from the official market. And remember, at that time, the premium, that is the difference between the official rate and the parallel market rate, at a point it went up to 50%. In other words, if you buy or if you bought foreign exchange for 1 billion, you can immediately, on the official market, you can immediately go and sell for 1.5 billion and make 500 million instantly in 2 days or in 1 day. So what the reform has done is to close all the windows and have one window. And we are going to see how this has brought about stability.
Okay, so do you agree with those who say the Naira was also undervalued and it's now just bouncing back to its fairer value? There are some economists who have said that. But particularly, I wanted to ask you, for an economy like Nigeria that depends solely or largely on oil, like you highlighted moments ago, how unusual is it for the Naira to now decouple, or simply put, for those who do not understand, how, unusual is it for the Naira to be no longer tightly tied to oil prices. Is this unusual for you?
Well, generically is unusual, but within the context of interpreting economic event, it is not. Take the case of somebody who was able to store maybe 1,000 yams, and then suddenly there was a famine, and people were eating and celebrating in his or her own house. That eating and celebration will take some time, but at a point, if the drought, the hunger continues, it will finish. The celebration will finish. So in economics, we have a time frame for looking at the event, the short run. Due to the rise in oil prices, due to the reforms, especially those carried out by the central bank, there was a lot of inflow of foreign exchange. So the reserve position, which is a major determinant of the value of the Naira, rose up. As at the end of 2023, the reserve position was around $32 billion.
Yeah.
But as at the end of 2024, the reserve position went up to about 40.2. In other words, Nigeria has accumulated some buffers to carry Nigeria forward, even in the event of a short-run emergency. So now the oil prices are declining because
Below
we were able to
$70,
build those
yeah.
buffers. They are carrying us forward. However, there is a time limit. After that, the decoupling will not be possible. Unless, on the part of Nigeria, we also continue to export more so that at least we increase the buffer or we maintain them.
Right.
Otherwise, that decoupling will crumble.
I'd like you to even stress that even further. What do we need to do, to maintain this positive trajectory? How optimistic are you that the Naira will continue, to sustain this strengthening? And do you even see it gaining even more strength? Can we come down to figures like maybe 1,000 Naira to the dollar? Would that be too optimistic?
Well, like I said earlier, an economy that has a shallow productive base like ours cannot have a strong currency. Because, the world today is ruled by global interaction, global trade. And if you have an economy that cannot provide for at least a significant percentage of what you consume, the game will be played in your disfavor. So the first thing is to see how Nigeria can deepen the productive capacity. In other words, diversification, which has been hammered on since independence. This has not been achieved. If we diversify our revenue earning base, we'll be free from the volatilities in international oil price.
But do you think the coming on stream of Dangote Refinery, for example, 650,000 capacity, that's making Nigeria a net exporter of fuel? Oh, okay. Very quickly, what is that adding to the economy? What advantage?
Well, it is clear that from my earlier analysis that if in 2023 we are using $8.2 billion to import refined petroleum products, and Dangote is supplying that to us now. That 8.2 is a significant amount.
Right.
Of course, you know that apart from the refined oil, there are other byproducts that are replacing those that used to be imported. So you can see there are multiple positive effects of such. But coming back to emphasize on the answers I gave to how we can ensure this stability is sustained.
Keep the momentum.
Yeah, apart from diversifying the economy, you make the economy very conducive for foreign investment. Because foreign investment has multiple benefits. First, it brings in additional foreign exchange. Not all of it is converted into Naira immediately for operational purposes. Okay. And that foreign exchange that comes to foreign investment beefs up your reserve. In other words, your buffers, your foreign exchange buffer.
Yeah.
So that can help stabilize the value of your currency.
Okay. All right. Dr. Justin Amase, I think the most important question Nigerians will be asking is how all of this great news affects them in their pockets, in the markets, you know, and their daily lives. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Dr. Justin Amase is an economist. He's been sharing his thoughts on the decoupling of the Naira, in other words, the strengthening of the Naira despite the increased falling or decline of Nigeria's black gold oil. In fact,